What's up, people? It's Faceman, your friendly neighborhood contrarian. And today, in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about the Democratic primary race. Who's going to be the anointed one? Who's going to be the Democratic candidate? We've had 4 nights of debates so far, just 2 rounds. We have a debate coming up, I believe September, and then we have another one in October. In order to make it to the next debate, the candidates must reach a couple different thresholds as far as individual donations and polling, which is going to eliminate the vast majority of all these candidates that are trying to make it on the Democrat ticket. But the good news is, for some of those lower polling candidates like Yang or Gabbard or Klobuchar, if they don't make it to the September debates, they still have a chance to make it to the October debates, which I see as a slim chance, but it's better than having no chance at all, right? So I'm looking forward to this debate coming up in September. I'm looking forward to there being much less candidates because it can just get a little overwhelming, a little exhausting, listening to 20 different voices about talk about the same stuff and have a lot of the same policy stances on a lot of these issues like healthcare. The infamous picture comes to mind from the first debates where everybody on stage raised their hand in support of universal health care for undocumented immigrants. I'm looking forward to less time constraints on each individual candidate, allowing them to really express themselves a lot more fully. The big problem with these debates, the way they are set up now, is that you're basically just getting sound bites from each candidate. A lot of them aren't saying anything new because they're just getting asked these surface level questions, and sometimes yes or no questions. It's very odd, some of these questions. The last debate comes to mind where what's his name? One of the anchors, CNN anchors. He's like, "Well, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z, right?" Like, what kind of question is that? It's like you're basically being put on the spot to try to agree that whatever question they're asking, like, that's your stance. I don't know. It's I mean, what can you expect from the mainstream media, right? They're just talking heads. They're not real journalists. They don't investigate things. They get these press releases from think tanks and from the government itself, and they just throw their own spin on it to meet their meet the expectations of their demographics, and and therefore they're advertisers. So that's why you can't really trust the mainstream media. We're gonna take a second to think about each one and where they stand as far as polling, and also with the DNC. We saw that the DNC has a lot of say. The super delegates come to mind. The DNC has a lot of say as far as who is that final choice for Democratic candidate. We saw in 2016 that even though Bernie was getting tons of support, he was snubbed. He was set to overtake Hillary to get that nomination. But the thing is that he wasn't playing by the DNC playbook. Progressives at that time were a much more niche portion of the Democratic Party, and they didn't really have that political backing. So he was going against a huge machine that was Clinton. Going back to Bill Clinton, then Hillary as Secretary of State. She amassed a lot of power in Washington and the Justice Department, the State Department. She inserted a lot of people in there and basically was running the Democratic National Convention and might still have a lot of sway with them nowadays, although their power is definitely waning since she lost the 2016 election. So the number one pick, I think, for the DNC at this moment is Joe Biden. And this kind of baffles me. I can only explain this by A, he's getting the establishment backing, and B, I'm thinking a lot of the people being polled across the country are old people, retired, they're at home. So they would have more naturally of an establishment viewpoint. So with Biden, he's a top pick for the DNC, and I really don't know how he's the top polling right now, considering all the gaffes he's been making. Call Joe at 30330, or that video where he says at the very end of the press conference, "What am I doing?" This guy had brain surgery. From what I hear, they actually removed the top of his head and maybe gave him a little lobotomy or something like that. He's not all there. He's getting really old, and his age is affecting him more so than someone like Bernie Sanders or Trump, who can still rattle on for hours. They call him Sleepy Joe for a reason. And not to mention his history of basically sexually harassing women and children and just very generally creepy stuff. And I feel that if he is the primary winner, he's going to get slaughtered in a debate with Trump. He's going to get slaughtered. He won't know what planet he's on after the first couple minutes. He just looks dazed, and he's been looking dazed and confused during the debates. So Joe probably has some kind of dementia or Alzheimer's already. Buttigieg. So before I move on to Buttigieg, so Biden, I would rate him his debate performance. I would rate him a 1 out of 5. To conclude on that. But he is, unfortunately, the top establishment pick right now, and the Democrats are really setting themselves up for failure if they move along with Biden. Next up is Buttigieg. I would rate his debate performance around 2 out of 5. He's very composed. He's very poised. He's very articulate. But he doesn't have that much charisma to me. He just seems kind of timid or subtle, and I don't see him as somebody that can stand up to the military-industrial complex. I don't see him as somebody that can stand up to the special interests. He seems kind of like a pushover, and in general, just like he just has the demeanor of like a beta male, and that doesn't really have anything to do with him being gay. It's just he doesn't command a presence. He doesn't command your attention. So Buttigieg, I don't think is gonna get anywhere, but I think he might be a sleeper DNC pick because he seems pretty malleable. I think they'd be fine. They'd be happy with themselves picking him as a primary candidate, but again, I don't think he can stand up to Trump as far as the debate, unless he baits Trump into saying something, out there, maybe something homophobic or something like that, because we know Trump has no filter, so he might say something that even in this political climate, if it remotely sounds homophobic, he'll get thrown to the wolves for that. Harris, oh man, Harris is just a mess. Her record is horrendous. A lot of people are woke to that already, and even before the debates, were questioning her record. And she just seems so fake, so insincere. But then she always leans on these emotional appeals and clearly lying, and she's very see-through. I don't understand why people would support her. If even black people won't support her, who the hell is supporting her? The thing is, she does strike me as somebody who might be able to hold her own against Trump, but she's just got too many issues with her past that I think would be too easy to dismantle her, especially like with the commercials where the political commercials that these politicians throw out there that roast other candidates. Harris, I would give a 1 out of 5 in her debate performance, even though with the first round of debates, she that gave her a boost in the polls, but she's just too emotional. Like she tries to make all these emotional appeals, like, oh well, when I was blah blah blah, and they had no food on their plate, and they missed the bus, and it's like it just seems so contrived, man. I don't, but I mean, a lot of people, a lot of idiots out there they can't see through somebody lying to them, unfortunately. Sanders, I would give a 3 out of 5 debate performance. It's basically 2016 all over again. He got shafted by the DNC in 2016. I'm not too sure the DNC wants him in there even now, because he seems very individualistic. That he doesn't seem like somebody who's going to back down from what he believes in or what he wants to actually do. And I think he is one of the more dangerous candidates, because he's willing to just throw money out the window on everything, and he seems determined to get it done. So I would rate him a 3 out of 5. And just back to Harris real quick. I think she might be a number 2 DNC pick, because it seemed like with the first round of debates that CNN was really pushing Harris. But since Gabbard wrecked her in the last debates, it seems like the mainstream media has backed away from supporting Harris. But I think the DNC would still be content with having her as a primary candidate, if not Biden, because at least she might have a chance of standing up against Trump. It's like she has more of a harder edge. And, the emotional appeals might work against somebody like Trump. I'm not sure. Elizabeth Warren, I would give her a 3 out of 5 with the debate performance. I like her rhetoric about breaking up big tech, and for that reason, I think the DNC might be wary of her, because obviously Google is a huge force in Silicon Valley, which is a primarily Democratic area. California is primarily Democratic. And who was the top donor for Hillary Clinton in 2016? It was Alphabet, the parent company of Google. So Warren is kind of generic otherwise. It's hard not to bring up the word generic in this race so far, because so many of the candidates have adopted the same policy stances. And in the case of Harris, flip-flopped in a few different stances. So they all seem kind of like the same. One thing about Warren is that she kind of has like this vacant stare, kind of like what Cory Booker's got going on. And Cory Booker is next on our list. I give him about a 2 out of 5 debate performance, because he has the confidence. He's willing to speak up. and get excited and get engaged. But he also has like a dead stare. He must be like, I swear he's like a reptilian or a fucking android or something. But and he can be corny sometimes. Like I saw on Twitter some people roasting him over like the Kool-Aid saying he said during the debate. So I don't think there's many Booker fans out there, and I'm personally disappointed in Rosario Dawson. Like, you could do so much better. Why are you messing with this corny Booker? Uh, Klobuchar, I give her a 1 out of 5 debate performance. She's not really that assertive. She looks like a pushover, easily malleable. Not really a DNC pick though, but they could easily control her, along with the special interest in the military-industrial complex. She has had a couple solid points. One about free college, that whole policy. So she has clarified that she's into that idea. She supports, free college, but not for rich people, for rich kids, which makes total sense. Why would you offer free college to people that could afford it anyway? So she's a very small variation from the rest, but she has a couple. She had said a couple of decent things that I mostly forgot. So that kind of goes to show you how impactful of a candidate she is, because she's not. Next up, we have Castro. I don't think he's a DNC pick. He might as well be Fidel Castro, because he clearly wants open borders, and he'll be the guy that gives the most to illegal immigrants and does the most for them. And as we've seen over the past 10 years, illegal immigration has gotten really crazy, and Trump would be smart to get some reforms in before the election, because the Democrats will definitely eat him up over that. So Castro, I would rate his performance 1 out of 5 during the debates. I don't think a lot of what he's saying is very popular with most people, and he just doesn't, other than being attractive, he's not very charismatic, or he doesn't really grab your attention. Yang, definitely not a DNC pick. He has a lot of good points, a lot of good reasoning, solid logic about behind a lot of his rhetoric, but he seems pretty timid, pretty passive. He seems like another beta male. Like, he's gonna get pushed over by all the special interests and everything. He would maybe make a good vice president. I would say a good vice president for Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard. I think they would make a really good combination. You'd be able to hit the woman vote. You'd be able to hit the people of color vote. Because Tulsi's browner than Harris. Let's be real. And the Asian vote right there with Yang. And you get Silicon Valley on board possibly with that. And now, last but definitely not least, is Tulsi Gabbard, who I think has been killing it in the debates. I give her a 4 out of 5 debate performance rating. The biggest criticism I could say is that she didn't get enough time. Maybe she could have tried to worm her way into more conversations a little bit. She probably could have done a little bit better with that. But she's poised, she's confident, she's articulate, she's attractive. Her words have weight and bite to them, as you've seen with the exchange with Tulsi and Harris, where the trending tag, the trending hashtag that following day was Kamala destroyed, Kamala Harris destroyed. So much internet buzz. For Gabbard. I think the internet's behind Gabbard. And if you remember in 2016, the internet got behind Trump. with memes and stuff like that. You know, there's jokes about like the meme war. If you go digging around the internet, you'll find all kinds of interesting things about like the power of memes, and it's like actual wizardry to some people. It's very intriguing. What I love about Tulsi is the anti-war stance. Really, I'm surprised she's not polling higher. I feel like these polls are kind of rigged or something like that. Like, how are people not hearing about Tulsi? She was a big buzz over the last debate. She created a huge buzz. People were talking about it on mainstream TV too. You know, she was on Fox or something the other day saying how she thought that Harris's response to Harris getting destroyed was pathetic because Harris was talking about, oh, she's a top tier candidate, she expects this stuff, whatever. So Gabbard seems the most grounded, the most articulate. She seems very intelligent. A lot more intelligent than most of the candidates. And I think that she would be a good option as an independent vote, because I don't think the DNC wants anything to do with Gabbard or Yang. The DNC wants to continue the war. Okay, they want to continue wars. Unending war is a bipartisan affair ever since 9/11. Even Clinton had some skirmishes in Kosovo. Did some bombing, sent some troops, whatever. It was a while ago. I forget the specifics. I think they bombed some people. Anyways, it's only gotten worse since 9/11. We're in so many different countries, just killing all kinds of people, innocent people, women, children, along with some terrorists. Or, are they terrorists? Are they freedom fighters? It really depends on the perspective, really. If some other country came, let's say China started, having military activity in the United States, got Chinese tanks running up and down Atlantic Avenue. I would be the freedom fighter busting up Chinese fucking army and stuff. I would be a guerrilla force taking them out. So we just need to get the hell out of the Middle East and, keep our intelligence strong, our diplomacy strong, and we'll be able to avoid things like 9/11, which the FBI and CIA knew about beforehand. They had heard radio chatter of planes being hijacked and flown into buildings, specifically in New York City, and Osama bin Laden was on the radar because, come on, the CIA, he worked for the CIA. They installed him in Afghanistan to lead the Mujahideen against Soviet Russia. So that's where Osama came from. He was on their record. He was on their radar. And that's a whole other subject entirely. You can research about 9/11 and 9/11 truth online. There's a lot of resources. Building 7, thermite pools, intact passport found in like the middle of the street. Okay, there's like so many anomalies with 9/11. Let me not get started with that. But in any case, I think Gabbard is the best shot we have. If she is serious about ending the wars, she is the best candidate, hands down, that we can possibly hope for. And yeah, she has many socialist stances, universal health care. I don't know. She probably supports free college and free fucking everything, free dildos for everybody. Whatever. Okay, I get it. Listen, even Obamacare eventually is getting phased out. It's getting dismantled. You don't have to pay the mandate anymore. Whatever socialist policies she wants to implement can be dismantled later. But let's focus on ending the fucking wars and cutting off the military-industrial complex. We don't need to be spending $700 million when China spends like half that on their military. Russia spends like 60 billion or so, 70 billion, and they have better tech than us. How is it that Russia, okay, we spend 10 times more on our military than Russia, and they currently broke the deterrence with the hypersonic jet that we have no defense against. So they can freaking stealth that thing into the country and drop a nuke if they really wanted to, if it came to it. And the thing is that the government loves to waste money, okay? So there needs to be a complete audit of the military, a complete audit of everything. Audit everything. Audit the Fed, audit the Treasury. There needs to be some freaking serious audits, okay? Make a whole branch of government of just auditing the government. Do it. Yes, I don't care. We need these people to be held accountable, and we need to end these wars. It's gonna affect our own security. Okay, I don't want to be at war with China or Russia or have Middle Easterners who are upset that we messed up their country, like Libya. We fucked up Libya, to have them come over here and do things over here. I don't want that. You don't want that. Come on, people. Come on, American people. End the fucking wars, man. End the fucking wars. Please, please. I'm begging you. End the fucking wars.